AI stuff at all?
Yes, absolutely. The whole AI agent, AI convergence of
Yeah.
AI meme coins on Solana. Yeah, it's been very interesting.
Do you know anyone who's like really, really deep in that space? Because I want to talk to more people who are experts or near experts in that space.
Yeah, I do. From like a investor perspective or like builder. What is it? What are you looking for?
Both, both, to
Both?
be honest. Yeah. I just want to learn is I feel like if you don't continuously and like if you're not devoting legitimate effort to understanding AI right now, you're making a mistake. Um, because that is going to be like the main movement force or the main like multiplier in this next arena of commerce. And so if you're not capable of like leveraging AI tech, you're going to get really outclassed, I think.
Completely agree. Yeah, the AI agent space on Solana has been some of the most profitable trading I've done over the last sort of six
Yeah.
to 12 months, actually. So I used a lot of Nansen's data to inform some of those trading decisions. So
Yeah.
yeah, spotted goats super, super early.
Really?
Um,
Nice.
yeah, based on a few like interesting smart money addresses buying in at the time. So yeah, it's been good, but I feel like it has a long way to go. And I think the sort of AI sort of narrative or little bubble that we saw earlier in this year was, I think, held up by a bit of a house of cards, where I feel like this now resurgence of AI again has a little more legs to it, which I'm glad to see. So I think AI and crypto is only going to become even more relevant over the
Yeah.
next one. So impossible to ignore, in other words.
Yeah, I really think people are being foolish if they are ignoring it. But so we're live now. I wanted to highlight this real quick and then we'll get into your demo. This is an LP that I literally opened like 3 minutes ago while we were chatting. And so far I've earned like 700 in fees on 5K in capital. It's on this coin Justice. This was launched by the Peanut founder, and the market is going crazy with it right now. So like if this is obviously like somewhat of an anomaly. Most LPs aren't going to be like this profitable in terms of like how quickly they're printing fees, but it kind of like shows you like how much juice there is if you set up a good position. But so we're officially live, guys. So this is like LP Jam number like 19 or 20 or something like that. I've literally lost count. We've got an awesome guest here. It's Charlie Kavanaugh. That's correct pronunciation, correct?
Nailed it.
Awesome. We've got Charlie Kavanaugh here from Nansen. Nansen's an awesome tech stack that lets you really, really dive deep into on-chain analytics. We're going to do a really sweet demo of their product today. And then we're going to do kind of like a deeper dive into how you can use something like Nansen and integrate that into your information stack and also your decision-making process so that you can LP better. So without further ado, Charlie, I think I'm going to hand it over to you and let you have you share a screen and kind of like start walking us through nets and how we can use something like that.
Great. Thank you very much. I will boot you off the screen share and I will give this a go. Just one moment. Okay. Can you see that all right on your side?
Yep. Go ahead.
Wonderful.
Um, I would maximize your screen. I think that's the only other thing.
Is that all right there? I'm just on the single monitor, so
It's
uh,
fine.
that's okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, great to be here. Thank you very much for having me on. Uh, so my name is Charlie. I lead growth here at Nansen. Nansen is a on-chain investor-based tool that has been helping a lot of people to win recently, and especially on Solana. So really, you can use Nansen for three things. The first is discovery. So you can discover new tokens, you can discover really interesting, profitable addresses and whales. Then once you've done that discovery, you can also perform due diligence. So how do you know if 80% of the token distribution is tied up in one developer's wallet? How do you know if that entity or that address you've discovered is indeed profitable? And then once you've potentially entered a position, how do you know how to manage or defend that position as well? So Nansen is a wallet labeling solution. So we have 350 million wallets labeled across a number of different chains. And it's really the wallet labels that power the discovery, due diligence, and also defense. So of those 350 million addresses, the most profitable 10,000 of them, and specifically 500 on Solana, are labeled this little smart money emoji here. So it's really the cream of the crop. It already takes the most 500 profitable investors on Solana, and then you can use Nansen to track what they're doing on chain, whether they're buying new tokens early, whether they're selling off their positions, so that you can also become a better crypto investor. So that really just summarizes what Nansen's all about. We've got many, many features that allow you to do all of those different things. So I'm going to show you about 20% of the platform today. We'll dive into some more like stuff that's relevant to the LP side in the later half of this. But just to give you a bit of an overview before we get started. So there's a number of things that I can use the search bar for. So I can search for like a token like Peanut to
Charlie,
take.
I'm gonna run to the bathroom real quick. I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Go for it, man. No worries at all. I will continue. So you can search for like a token like Peanut or like Justice, which, yeah, ordinary Bob, you were just talking about, Justice for Peanut and Fred. You can also search for like an interesting individual. So someone like Murad, who's been crazy in the Solana meme coin space lately. And then also you can search for like a fund to see what a fund might be buying on Solana today. So we'll show you a bit more of what these views actually all look like. But Nansen allows you to get in the head of these smart money addresses so that you can really level up your investing as well. So let's start by heading over to the smart money tab. And here I can just filter by Solana. And we're now zooming into the activity of the most profitable 500 addresses, specifically on Solana. So you have three different tabs here. So if you wanted to find whale wallets, people that are incredibly profitable on Solana at the moment, you can use our P&L leaderboard. And this shows you the most profitable addresses over the last 30 days, 90 days, so on and so forth. So there's some interesting addresses in here that we can see already, like Jump Capital. Jump Capital are a fund in the crypto space. And without Nansen, you'd have no idea that this address is Jump, right? We can also see there are some addresses like Meme Coin Expert, Moodeng Whale. We've got some interesting .sol addresses as well. And we can see how much money they've made in the last 90 days. I don't know what your P&L looks like. I wish mine looked as great as this guy who made $14 million over the last 90 days at a ROI 840%. He's got a win rate of close to 90%, and he's only made about 200 trades. So you can find these addresses using Nansen, and then you can set alerts on their activity and be notified in Telegram, Discord, or Slack whenever they make a transaction on chain in the future. I can actually play around with some of the filter functionality here as well and say, okay, I want to only surface addresses that have an 85% win rate that have made, let's say, over $1 million in the last 90 days. And maybe I only want to find those who have made between 5 and 100 trades, let's say. Because if you're setting alerts on these accounts, you don't want to be notified ding, 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 ding every sort of minute or so. And now we're sort of isolating down the list based on your trading strategies and what you're looking for. So here we can see this Batman with Batman.sol address. He's got an 86% win rate and he's made 4 mil over the last 90 days. Really interesting to find these addresses. And we can do a bit of a deeper dive into these addresses in just a moment. But let's actually do that now. So if I click into this individual, here I can see where he's made his money. So I can see he's done really well on like PopCat, also on Chaos, SCF, Mitchie, Selfie. So a lot of these tokens that have been like going pretty ballistic on Solana over the last little while. And 65 trades, 31 tokens. Looks like he's super active in the meme coin space. And he's got an 86% win rate. If we look, he's only really lost a very small amount in the last 90 days at 16 grand. But you can see he's made over $1 million on 2 tokens and over 100K in several more. So if you're interested in tracking this individual and potentially their current token balances, you can really easily create an alert to be notified of their activity. Let's say whenever they make a transaction of over 500 bucks, and you can be told in Telegram, Discord, or Slack. So one of the way that Nansen users really win is they find a list of these maybe 5 to 10 addresses, just like the one that we've discovered now with Batman here, and they set alerts on them, and then they copy trade their activity, and that essentially allows them to become smart money themselves. So that's the P&L leaderboard. Really, really neat stuff in here. But also you can see not just the address perspective, but what are these smart money addresses accumulating? What are they buying? What are they like? Where are they looking at the moment? So let's get specific to Solana again. And here I can see that in the last 24 hours, there's been 1.6 mil of inflows into this Frick token here. Frick is like a not super low FDV at 22 mil, but it has also been deployed literally today, right? So pretty interesting that 1.6 mil of the market cap is from smart money addresses. So this top tokens tab can just give you that initial discovery or the light bulb of where should I look. Then you have like Ava, which is this like tiger in Chiang Mai in Thailand. And then you also have like Fwog, Giga, etc. If you wanted to just focus on like AI and meme coins, for example, like that's really the space you want to play in, you can easily do that with the filters here. And I can also say I only want to look at tokens that have like a 30-day age range. So it excludes all the sort of blue chip Solana meme coins like WIF, etc. And it just focuses on the newer stuff. So here, potentially, I might look into this like Ava token, Father, Nero Boss, etc. So we'll take a look at what it actually looks like once you click into these tokens in just a moment. But you can also take it a step further and see what smart money are trading in real time. This is super powerful in the way that you can see like what people are trading. These top addresses, 500 addresses, are buying in real time on dexes. And I can say, okay, I only care if you've bought, let's say, over $5,000. And oh, that's the wrong filter. It is the value filter. There we go. So if I only want to look at the buys of $5,000, here we can see this meme coin expert address has actually just sold 9K of justice, which is the token that we talked about right at the start of this call. So if you want to like get quiet in the weeds and see what these top addresses are buying in real time, this can be a great place. So let's take a look at a token together. We can start by looking at Peanut. And this now allows us to zoom into this specific token. And we can look at the Smart Money tab to see what does Smart Money think about this token? Because given that it's the most profitable addresses, you would hope to see that sentiment is going up and to the right. This represents the total balance in wallets of the token. And then this light blue line represents the number of unique holders. So here we can actually see a lot of smart money have been dumping more of their peanut recently. And this trend goes back quite some time until about early November. So we actually saw smart money selling off their positions pretty soon after the Binance listing, and everything just went ballistic. So potentially that could suggest that they no longer believe in the token, or they're just happy to take profits at that price.
So Charlie, this
So
chart is only for smart money, right?
only for smart money. That's
And
right.
it's just
That's
like a
right.
quick, it's like a quick snapshot of like what the smart money traders are doing with the coin over time.
Exactly. It's that initial sort of pulse check that can give you an idea of their sentiment. But I know that this like isn't super like relevant to you guys because it's on like BNB, but I just noticed some interesting activity on this Y token. So I'll show you an example of like where we've seen a good increase lately. So here we see like this Y has been pretty flat line for like nearly half a year. And then boom, one day to the next, we have 4 to 7 smart money holders. And if we look at actually who that is, one of them is Sky9 Capital, who are a fund in the
Hmm.
venture space in crypto. So to see that you've got 3 smart money addresses out of nowhere buying this token, and the token's dumped in the last 24 hours, maybe they know something that we don't know, right? And maybe that's potentially something that I might want to explore some more. So this is just a different example, but I found GOAT by seeing Roger Lim by in the Smart Money tab here. And Roger Lim is, let me just bring him up. Roger Lim, he is the managing partner at a fund in Singapore called NGC Ventures. So it's always really interesting when you see like a big venture fund owner buying into a meme coin on Solana, right? So let's also see what else Roger Lim's up to. I can easily search for him in Nansen,
Charlie,
and I can see,
is there a way that you can like automatically get notifications for these like kind of like big upticks in smart money buys? Like, could you set a
yeah.
ping for like when 5 smart money traders buy something, it automatically notifies me?
So you can set it up based on inflow, like dollar value amount. So for me, I like to set alerts when in an hour, it gives me a ping on an hourly cadence, and it says if there are smart money addresses that accumulate over a certain dollar amount, I want you to tell me in Telegram or Discord. And
Hmm.
that's like a really great way to consistently be reminded of like what's new, what's hot, and what is smart money picking up that I don't know just yet.
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's a great feature.
yeah, yeah, really powerful. So if we look at like Roger Lim here, we can see that he's holding pretty decent positions in Goat and Popcat still. Like Popcat, it's nothing massive compared to the FDV for these two, but again, always interesting to see like a fund manager holding a token, right? Let's take a look at Popcat. So Popcat, we can see in the Smart Money tab, if I sort by the value, like this has been decreasing quite a bit. But if I sort by the value, I can see that there's this fund here. So Sigil Fund are a fund that is like regularly like aping into meme coins. And it's always pretty interesting to see like a liquid fund who are just simply buying these assets on chain. And like these guys have really sophisticated fund managers. They've got teams of analysts. They're real top dogs in their industry, right? And to see that this individual has $2 million of PopCat on chain is pretty unique. And if you wanted to look into their activity specifically on PopCat, I could basically bring up this wallet side by side to this token. And I can see that actually down here, when the price wasn't like super high, it was around like 70 cents. They started adding to their position. They added some more here, and they added some more here. And shortly after, the token did like a comfy sort of 3x, and they started selling off their position. So without Nansen, you'd have no idea that this address is from Sigil Fund. And you can easily set up alerts on their activity as well, so you can be notified of whenever they make a move on chain.
Do y'all have users that are just like copy trading these big funds, and are they doing so profitably?
Oh yeah, that's what Nansen's all about, man. Yeah,
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 I could envision just like literally like using a sigil fund as an example, just copy trading them and doing nothing else, and you probably book some W's that way.
exactly, exactly. It's like it allows you to almost become the fund without working at the fund, right?
Yes, it's kind of nice.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously
yeah,
they have somewhat of a first mover advantage because they're allocating large amounts of capital, but like with something like Popcat, where you're most likely buying that coin to hold it for weeks, if not months, then you can probably do so with a small amount of volatility in the short term and still be able to close serious profits in the long run.
exactly, exactly.
Charlie,
And I think,
can you pull up the dashboard for Justice? I'm really
yeah.
curious to see what smart traders are doing with Justice right now because I still have this position open.
Yeah, of course. So firstly, like we can look at the balances and see how the token's distributed. And we can
Mhm.
see like there's yeah, we don't have it's always a bit funny when you see tokens that are like when was this deployed? Was it deployed today?
Yeah, like 10 hours ago, I think.
Yeah, gotcha. So our like new our smart money chart is a bit ugly for tokens that are deployed today. It likes to see more of a trend. So we're getting this fixed. But here you go. You've got Master Ventures, who are also a fund. So if we just like gave them a quick Google, um, believe it is, yeah, I think it's these guys. Yeah, Web3 Technologies. So if we look at their strategies. Yeah, so they seem to be very on the venture side, but like, man, these guys have invested in Kraken, Coinbase, Circle, etc. So to
And
see
they're buying
them
Justice.
adding 100K position is like, yeah, like real pretty unique, right? And these guys have an 86% win rate
So
and
Charlie,
have made close to
what are your thoughts on the overall meta of these like mega funds or just these VC funds buying into memes? Is it because they see memes as a high attention space asset where they can generate profits? Do you think they're long-term bullish on the community that they're buying into, or is this simply a profit vehicle that's advantageous to them?
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting because you see funds with very different strategies, right? Especially for liquid funds versus like a venture fund, because a venture fund generally will have like a much broader time horizon, where a liquid fund might be only thinking about managing a position for up to sort of like 3 months on the max. So
What's the
what
difference
I find
between a liquid and a venture fund?
Yeah, so a venture fund generally they provide like angel capital, startup capital when a project's just getting off the ground, and they will invest that capital in exchange for equity, where a liquid fund will be trading on like the secondary markets. They're buying tokens on sexes, they're buying tokens on dexes. So liquid like venture funds generally have a worse hit rate, but when they hit home, it's like they make money, like crazy money. But a liquid fund generally has like a higher hit rate, but they have to think about risk quite a lot more because they're playing on the secondary market. So you'd think about following funds slightly differently. Like Master seem to be more venture based, so generally they might be looking at this with a broader time horizon. But what's interesting is like you never see funds aping into things at like 300K FDV, right? It's like if we look at Sigil Fund specifically on this, they were buying tokens at sort of 80 cents. And this is back in July. And they've actually held on to this position for quite some time. So what I'm noticing when talking to these funds is many of them were originally quite hesitant on playing in the meme coin space. But I think a lot of them have had to sort of change their tune, change their narrative on the way that they see the sort of meme coin super cycle. And I think a lot of them are starting to agree with many parts of like Murad's thesis and really just think that if they're not playing there, they're just frankly missing out. So I think we're only going to start seeing more funds buying tokens on chain. And I think also like the world tends to be going on chain in general. So rather than seeing them trade behind like closed doors on sexes, you're seeing Sigil Fund buying shitcoins on dexes directly. So I'm confident that we're going to see more of this, which is fun for all of us, right?
Do you
Yeah.
do you think that these groups, for the most part, are looking to try and find the established winners for the cycle? Hence why they're going in at like, because normally like buying a coin at like 100 million, 200 million, 500 million valuation is like usually like kind of like you're late. But in this case, you see a lot of these funds are doing that, and they're probably, I mean, obviously they're very intelligent people, so they have good reasons to do so. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And many funds also have pretty strict mandates where they can only invest in certain things. So that's why it's often interesting to find the fund manager addresses, because for the fund manager, that's not the address that's associated with the fund. That's just
ah,
them. That's just them as a sole guy, right?
so they
So when
have
you find,
all the alpha still, but none of the limitations.
yeah, exactly, exactly, without the mandate. So there's another guy that I was looking at,
Yeah, how do
Bharat
we do
Crime.
that? How do we find the fund manager addresses?
Yeah, it's a good one. So like I've found that many of them seem to be like hiding under the smart money sort of for the individual tokens. Like if I was looking at this token here and I went to smart money and I looked at the value. You will find these addresses just like in these lists. And if I've just looked for where was Bharat?
Is there a
I can't.
designation for that, or do you have to do a bit more digging in order to find it?
Yeah, it's a little bit more digging. At the moment, we have like uh yeah, you can sort by fund. Let me see if this comes up. No. Yeah, it's a little bit of some sleuthing involved, to be honest. So yeah, I wish we had like a fund manager dashboard or something like that, but we don't just at the moment.
That's okay. There's
Yeah. But
obviously
it's
y'all are off to a good start.
yeah, and when you find like, if you look at a token distribution, I often then like try to bridge the gap between on-chain data and off-chain data in the way that if you see someone in smart money here and you see that they're a big holder of something, I often actually search for many of these names I see in here. And that's how I found Bharat Crimo on Twitter. And then I realized that he's the general partner at 6529 Capital, which another venture fund in crypto. So it's like you sort of got to take that additional next step of maybe searching something in Twitter or on Google to really find what you're after. But another way to surface interesting addresses is you can come to the P&L leaderboard and you can find the most profitable addresses on that specific token. So here, as you'd expect, there's tons of smart money addresses, and these guys have made like unrealized gains of 12 mil that they're going yet to cash in for peanut. One of these addresses I'm tracking and I find really interesting. This guy has a 90% win rate. And if I come to this address, can see he's been like crushing it in this sort of AI, Solana, Project 89, Goat, etc. And if I look at his P&L, not only can I see realized, but I can also see unrealized P&L. So he's got like 10 mil in peanut that he's yet to make money on. So hats off to this guy for making it on this little squirrel. But yeah, it's crazy to see.
I have a question for you, Charlie. So one thing that's really a big issue in DLMMs is avoiding farms. You can do like really good in like choosing coins that have high volume and setting up a really good range. But if a coin is like heavily bundled by the insiders and they just like dump on you continuously, that can wreck your position because you just become exit liquidity. How can we use Nansen to get more information about coin launches and like holder distribution like that?
Yeah, good question. So for one, like you can always click into a specific token. Like if I went to Peanut and if I did look at the different balances here, you can see how the token is distributed across the top addresses. So we saw like a massive increase after the Binance listing. But here, like if you're able to see like maybe you can see like 50% is in one guy's address, right? Like that's going to be pretty concerning for you because they might
Sure.
just look to dump or yeah, like whatever it looks like. So it's obviously going to be quite different for every token. But it's worth asking yourself, like, what is it that I'm like seeing in here? But then also, what is it that I like should see in here that I maybe am not seeing in here? And I think that sort of additional layer of interpretation on top of this data is a really key way to sort of try to find some of those red flags before it might like bite you in the bum, unfortunately. So, like one example of this is it's a bit less relevant for like the LP stuff, but let me just show you where a token distribution could be really important. Is if we see 1 inch here, Binance Labs have 5% of the circulating supply for 1 inch. And we can see that that's actually more than the whole of the Binance like operation sort of deposit address has. So if I was a 1 inch investor, like I'm really going to want to know when Binance Labs eventually dump on retail, right? And we've seen this consistently where VCs have just like dumped on retail and then just ran off with the money. So for me, like without Nansen, I would have no idea that this is a Binance Labs address. And then I could set up activity on this specific address to notify me immediately when Binance Labs eventually cash out in the
Can
future.
you set up an
Um,
auto sell on your wallet for when Binance sells as well? That'd be nice.
Great idea. And I love the idea a lot because we're actually looking into it. And I think you'll be the first sort of, yeah, like community I've teased that too, that we're actually working on something like that. But at the moment, no. But
You all
yeah,
are going to
I'll
add
come back.
like trading capabilities, like integrated trading in the future.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like
exactly.
that's such a smart move because obviously like we're using this kind of tech to make more informed trading decisions, and by having that integration, it's kind of like a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Um, I'd
yeah.
love to have you check out Justice more because I just saw a tweet saying that it's being farmed and that the dev has sold 1 million worth of tokens so far. And so like from a DLM perspective, like this is like a honeypot because we have in a good way because we have so much volume coming through that it's like great for DLMing. But again, like if it is a farm where it's got like 30 to 40% bundled from the start and they're just gonna sell that continuously, then it makes it like very difficult to close profitably because we'll just have price dumping on us.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few things that are quite interesting, especially for stuff that's like super newly deployed, right? Like you mentioned, this is I think you said today. So one thing that I really like to see is the live DEX trades tab to try to spot any significant sell activity. And what's quite cool as well is you can filter this to just show like the large transactions that are being sold. So like as you can see, this is updating super quick, 36 seconds ago, 40 seconds ago, etc. So this is where you can spot almost like initial sentiment as well. Like are the larger transactions or the larger like sell transactions, are they in the red or are they in the green? And here we can see that there's even some like trading bot activity going on, but majority of the recent activity is just on sells in the last sort of minute or so. So while this can take a little bit of sort of sleuthing through, this can be helpful. Also seeing the top transfers here. So seeing like the not just like the DEX trades, but the activity from when it gets sent from like pump.fun to Radium, etc. Or eventually, if there is like a sex listing as well, this can be a really interesting way to spot that activity potentially of like a market maker or an address accumulating large amount of tokens. So this is different, like transfer is obviously different from a DEX trade, hence why the two different tables.
Sure.
You can also play around with the who bought, who sold. So who bought, who sold shows like the aggregated net buys and sells of this table. So if you don't want to sleuth too much through here, you can see like is there more of a sentiment on buyers or is there more of a sentiment on sellers? And what does that look like for like smart money, for example? And as we can see here, there's actually been quite a lot of smart money buy activity. So I would say, yeah, we're still working on our like the farm coverage for Solana. Like if we look down here, liquidity pools is just supported for EVM at the moment. Like you'll see Solana is still in beta, but this is where you'd actually be able to see the line by line transactions of the LP specifically. And here you'd be able to do some little bit more due diligence on exactly what you're after. But
One One thing that would be really incredible is if you could do a snapshot of the early buyers, the people who go on Pump Fund, and then kind of like a wallet analysis to see if those are like connected wallets. Because like the major issue is when you have an aggregate of wallets that bundle coins on launch, and then they try and be sneaky by sending them through like multiple other wallets and like washing the ownership. And you can obviously you can go on SoulScan and do that, but the problem is when you're trading memes or you're trying to LP short-term positions, you need to have really accurate and quick access to that information. And the brute force response or the brute force solution can take too long sometimes.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So when you do find an address in Nansen, you do also have a counterparties tab. So I'm just going to open up like a random address like that Sigil Fund one. And I can look at the counterparties of who they're sending assets and receiving assets from. So here we can see like another Sigil Fund address. We can see some exchanges and stuff. But unfortunately, this is on a too long of a time frame. Like you probably want to see this stuff pretty ASAP, and then also
Yeah.
you want to see multiple hoops, right? So it's like it's the addresses that are like obfuscating their activity through like multiple hops, which we don't cover at the moment, but we're working towards covering. And then also trying to give you like a bit of a confidence score as well on how confident we are that an address might be associated based on their activity. So that's also something that we're working on.
Yeah,
Thing with Solana,
talk to me about how I can look at this chart and like quickly derive information from it. Because like just this is my first time seeing something like this. So to me, it's hard to understand what this information really means. But I'd love to learn how I could like just use a quick glance and be like, hey, this is some more relevancy that I can understand.
of course. So I've got a good example for that. So Pranksy was like really, really well known in the NFT space and sort of a legacy KOL in crypto. And here, if you're trying to like, if we look at Pranksy's counterparties, we can easily find an alt address that is clearly owned by Pranksy. And I'll show you how we can sort of validate that ourselves. But what this does is it shows you the addresses that have significant inflows and outflows. So Pranksy was like really active with NFTs. So you can see like the CryptoPunks contract, there's been a lot of volume in, and there's also been some selling activity. They were also super active on like OpenSea, but a lot of this is contract stuff. So this is how they're interacting on chain. But if I just look at if I just go back a page, we'll find the address based on, I can order this on NetFlow, just one moment. Pranksy activity takes quite a lot to, here we go. So here I see an address, right? And I actually have this labeled as Pranksy's alt account already, but I see that this is the first account that's not a contract or an exchange. So I see that there's been $1.4 million in outflows from this address to this address. And there's been 25 transactions out, but only one transaction in. So what I can do is I can use our wallet pair profiler feature to bring these wallets side by side and help me to understand a little bit more about the transaction activity from wallet A to wallet B. And if I look down here, I can see pretty consistently we've seen the primary address funding the alt address. 5 ETH, 5 ETH, 2.5 ETH, 5 ETH, 5 ETH, 5 ETH, so on and so on. So this to me gives me like strong confidence that this address is indeed associated with this guy, and therefore I've actually applied a custom label to their account so that I can monitor their activity in future. So I've changed this as like Pranksy's alt account, and I've got NFT Guru in there as well. So that's just one way how you might use it, um, just by looking at the Counterparties tab. So I think this is like quite similar to, you're probably familiar with like Arkham and their visualizer, where you have like multiple different sort of wallets all connected and you can visualize it a bit easier. Where this is just very much based on like the dollar value of the flows between the different addresses. So we're still working on building the wallet pair profiler out for Solana. But I think once we've got that, it'll make that sort of obfuscating activity just a little bit easier to detect.
Cool. I like it. Yeah, so I'd love to.
Something else I want,
Oh, go ahead.
yes, it's something I wanted to show you that I think was probably lead us in quite well into the sort of more like LP world, is we've just launched this new token screener, which is a really great dashboard to discover tokens early. And you have like it's several ways that you can use it. So let's dive a bit deeper, but I'm just gonna specifically jump into Solana first, and we
Can
can
you
see that
can you show how early it called Frick? Because I feel like that's like one of the big movers for today.
this one here. So yeah, I can't say exactly like when it landed on the screen, but what we do see is that we've got like really big inflows from addresses, and that's why this is like the top token here. So it's ordered based on the amount of new money coming into the token, but I can order this based on anything. So if I just wanted to see like smart money inflow, then I'm just going to zoom out a
Also
touch.
number one. Do you know what Frick
I
is?
can
Do you
see.
know anything about the coin?
No, I actually don't. The space moves so fast, man.
Yeah.
Let me see.
That's why
Yeah, we
that's
don't.
why you need in like info aggregators. I think it's like the only way to really stay up to date is having tools like Nansen to aggregate information.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So
interesting.
we often add like a token summary here, but it generally only applies like if I just looked at like father or something that's like new but also not like stupidly new. Like here we can see what like we generate this text summary, but because it's so brand new, we don't have anything there just yet. So we're looking to be more responsive to that. But like if we just look at this a bit, like just dive into this data a bit more. So we have 375K of smart money inflow, and that's more than any other token on Solana today. And what's interesting is like the inflow compared to the FDV suggests that they've been pretty active there relative to the circulating supply. Compare that to something like 0.14. This is a little less interesting. So there's clearly smart money interest on this token. We can also see like smart money volume, number of smart money traders. So to me, like this token is actually looking pretty bullish for me to dive a bit deeper into. So token screener is that kind of like, what is the first stuff that I should look at? What's that initial light bulb? And you can really zoom this down to like the 5 minute mode if you wanted to. And it doesn't look like there's been much smart money activity in the last 5 minutes, but let's just see in general. Yeah, there's been like more inflows into Frick than any other token in the last 5 minutes. Um, and we can see that, yeah, like the number of traders, etc. So again, discovery stuff, we can see Mustard here has quite a lot of inflow as well. So I think if you're looking for tokens that are really newly deployed, this can be a great way to like find this stuff. Oh, that must be a bug actually.
Do you think
That the
do you
FTV
think the
so
regular
low.
inflow is more relevant or the smart money inflow? Because to me, like I would be much more interested in looking at smart money inflows because that's like we are assuming those are our intelligent investors. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I always default to smart money because it's like it's the
Oh,
500
they're
that
buying Overseer
are,
too. Sorry to interrupt,
yeah.
but I was LPing Overseer yesterday, and now I'm really curious because it looks like it's a good price for entry.
Yeah, yeah, potentially, right? Like we can actually then click into this token and then specifically see what smart money are doing. So yeah, we also have this little sprout emoji which shows tokens that are launched recently. So if you're trying to find like early LPs that you might want to explore, that can just be an initial like, these are the tokens I'm going to care about. Like this one here, FTV of like 500K. Seems to be not much smart money activity, but it could still be worth looking into, right? So here you can say like, okay, I just want to look at like AI and meme coins as well. So if you really wanted to get quite specific, and we've got the different time ranges, 5 minute, 10 minute, 1 hour, 6 hours. Oh, this banana token, I think I lost a little bit of money on this, but that's all right. Can't win them all, can you?
We've got to
But
convert you to an LPer, Charlie.
yeah, exactly,
Come
exactly. Give me
over to
some
the
of those
Met side.
passive rewards. Yeah, I want to make
Yeah,
700.
honestly.
I want to make money like you did at the start of this call, seven hundred
Yeah.
dollars in 3 minutes.
No,
Yeah,
in a moment, like what we'll do is we'll go through some coins and we'll kind of I'll kind of like drop some alpha on how I because again, like and I don't want to say this as like a brag because I'm not the best DLMMer out there, but I think DLMMing at its like core nature with meme coins, like because memes are so kind of like normalized in terms of their price expression. Like you almost always see, like if a coin has attention, you're going to see like a crazy move upwards, followed by a period of range trading near the all-time high as late buyers enter and early buyers take profit. And then you'll see a retrace anywhere from like a 70 to 90% sell-off. And then either the coin dies or you get a second movement with the exact same expression pattern. And so, like, because these patterns are so standardized, if you can avoid rugs, like, that's like the number one thing is just avoiding rugs. And then if you can put together a good LP framework or a good structure where you're allocating your liquidity in key areas where you're going to protect against IL and increase fee generation as much as possible, I really think that like, and I want to try this. Like, I have this kind of like fantasy idea of creating like a trading academy where I take like randos and like have 72 hours to teach them and see if I can't turn them into profitable LPers. But the thing is, because like memes, again, they express themselves in really like standardized formulaic ways, you can really consistently like LP profitably just by like predicting these patterns and setting up your liquidity to accommodate what normally happens.
yeah, exactly. I would love to sign up to that 3 day course that you have. But yeah, like just when we're looking at this, we've seen like 12K of smart money inflow just while you were speaking into Mustard. So just the fact that this is all like updating live, and then you could consider like creating LPs on the back of understanding these like really freshly deployed meme coins. Like this one only has like a tiny FTV of like one mil. Not super tiny, but I guess it depends on your risk appetite and where you play. But yeah, very cool. So do we have any like questions in the chat, or did you have any
Yeah.
questions that we wanted to run through?
Yeah, let's see if the audience has any questions and then we can kind of just like leave that rolling. And then what I'd love to do is I'd love to run a position on Frick based on the data that we're getting from Nansen. Um, to me, Frick seems like the play for right now. Justice, I'm like a little hesitant on because of what I was seeing about there being like a dev wallet that's like sold $1 million worth of coins already. Um, and Frick almost, if y'all haven't, I'll put a link in chat. But so Frick is actually really interesting to me. So I don't know if you saw this, Charlie, but Batman asked roughly how much does this service cost for the basic features?
Yeah, so the everything that I've taken you through today is 129 US for 1 month, but over an annual subscription, it's 99 per month. So it's 1200 US, but the subscription cost is pretty negligible compared to some of the alpha that you find here. Like really becoming a fund manager yourself for 1200 over a year is quite a small cost. So we do also have a freemium option it is quite limited. We are looking to expand the value that is offered there. But again, everything we've covered is included in the Pioneer plan, which you can check out on our website.
Yeah, if anyone is interested in joining up, Charlie was awesome enough to give me an affiliate link, and that gets y'all 10% off. Is that correct, Charlie?
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I just put the link in chat. If anyone wants to do that, that's awesome. And if not, that's cool too. Hopefully, we've taught a bunch of people a lot of stuff today, and hopefully, we've gotten Nansen a bunch of great exposure. Um,
Yeah,
well,
thank you.
let's look more at Frick. So, like, this is a coin launched by a Web2 artist called Frick. If you, I put their social in chat. If you look at it, his pinned post has 1.9 million impressions, and each of his most recent posts is getting like average 200K impressions, or if not more. So like that's like freaking psycho. And then also like I think like the meme is so simple. It's definitely like kind of like a flawed derivative, but the art is like clean and infinitely simple, which I think simple is better in the meme space. You don't want complex things. So this is really interesting to me. And then from a DLMing standpoint, this is like really, really fascinating. So Charlie, I'd love to have you walk us through like what would your like kind of like decision making process be if you were thinking about trading this? And then I'll kind of like talk about how I would LP this.
Of course, of course. So I think like initially the thing that stands out to me right off the bat is these two top buyers here, right?
Hmm.
So we've got two smart money addresses who seem to be the top buyers in the last 24 hours. And hovering over these addresses, it looks like this guy has a 73% win rate. Right. So while their win rate not bad, worth into these addresses to see have they been really pro and the rest of the won't work. Let me just try again. So
Will
it's
it show
worth
us
me looking at.
when? Will it show us when they bought the token as well?
Yeah, we can look at that. So here, like I can see that they've actually done pretty well on like Mooding, Pippin, Zero Bro, etc. So it looks like it's actually their largest position as well, which is quite
Hmm.
interesting to me. So even just the fact that smart money, like I can use Wallet Profiler for token to see exactly when they bought. Um, so it looks like here, 7 a.m. is when they added, and then 12, 1, and 3. So here I can see their like exact activity line by line. So it looks like they've been, yeah, adding to their position from, yeah, Radium pretty consistently over these periods. So that's pretty interesting. Like what we find on Solana is that people generally tend to buy it less in one full clip, and they're just like buying in sort of these smaller chunks.
Hmm.
So that to me is pretty interesting. Like I can also look at the price chart here as well if I wanted to. I can see the live DEX trade activity. What I like to do is see smart money activity specifically. And here we can see that like still a lot of the smart money activity tends to be like buys. And we can see, yeah, sure, there's a little bit of sell activity, but even just 16 minutes ago, this guy was buying 35K worth. I could also take a look
Interesting.
at like value over 10K and see what are those some of like larger transactions that aren't just like smart money. And here we can see more buys than sells as well. So again, sort of, it's all about building this conviction, right? Nothing's going to give you that like this is the big green buy button or the big red sell button. Um, Top transfers, nothing too interesting here. If I look at the balances, what I'm looking for is like how the token might be distributed. So here I can see that like for super newly deployed tokens, we're still working towards the ownership percentage. It usually updates after about a day. But here we can see that those smart money addresses are actually the two top holders. So if I was investing in this token, I'm gonna really care about what these guys do.
Yeah.
So, because they're like but behind Radium, it's 3 and 4, right? So I might look to set alerts on these accounts, which I can do quite easily. Um, so smart money, like specifically, this is going to be going. It's probably going to show a flat line because it's the same day. So this is that bug that I was sharing. But here we can see those two addresses. We can see some other individuals like, yeah, clearly a lot of people are like adding to their positions. I can see if anyone has started to like sell off as well. See if there's any, yeah. So it looks like smart money activity is pretty strong, which is bullish again. Um, Here we can see like some of these other addresses, check out their P&L rates. This guy is like a 95% P&L rate and 143K position. So to me, this is also looking pretty bullish. I can also see any exchange,
Exchanges are buying it.
yeah, exchange related info. It looks like a lot of the actions happening on Radium. But what we see is like all these Solana tokens are all just on chain anyway, right? So that's the beauty of Nansen is you can track all of the activity. Where if it was just happening on sexes, you'd have not really much of an idea.
Charlie, there's
So
a
to me,
there's a
this
good
is.
question in the webinar chat.
Oh, let me. Do you have any good examples where it definitely shows you inside? Was there anything on Active Peanut prior to Binance, or example? Yes, there is actually a really good example of this, and unfortunately, like we noticed we actually have alerts at Nansen set up on a few insiders specifically for Act, and we noticed them yeah, like massively adding to their positions before Binance listing. And also there was another recent token where they did the same again. So I unfortunately can't remember exactly what the workflow was off the top of my head, but we have an alpha community of smart money investors here at Nansen, which is on our most expensive plan or offering. And this was actually raised there. And a number of investors that were in that community did really well off the back of one of our analysts sharing some of these insights. So great thing about joining Alpha is while it is quite a lot more expensive, you actually have Nansen analysts and product managers like sharing these insights when they come in. What's the average ROI of that Alpha group? Really great question. I wish all of our members doxed their addresses so we could actually measure that. But yeah, we've been really early on a lot of these, this like Solana-based narrative. It's where a lot of like fund managers from Maven 11, Amber Group all hang out. So we also used to have Roger Lim, the man himself, in Alpha a little while ago. So yeah, it is generally quite like a high net worth focused community. It's not really the type of community where you're going to be shilled 10 plus tokens every day. It's more of like where can you build really solid conviction amongst other high net worth individuals to get those sort of like 10, 15 massive bets that are going to really give you the home runs over the sort of every few months or year. So did you have a tool where you can put in different Solana addresses and see if they're connected in any way? Yeah, I think like the I think the way I see Nansen is it's like it's part of a investor's arsenal. I don't necessarily see it as like the only gun that someone's going to bring into battle. So I do have another tool that I do use specifically for that. I think it to be honest, everyone's sort of Solana data it seems to be pretty unsophisticated. So I think we've got a bit of like a first mover advantage there. But yeah, I don't think anyone's like truly cracked the visual piece on the connectedness just yet. Able to say the name. Yeah, so I've experimented with like Arkham before, but I don't find their Solana data to be that accurate. But they're also our biggest competitor, so I won't shill them too hard.
Won't tell me.
But look, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about the alpha community, I would just drop my Telegram there, or if you just want any other like Nansen related questions, things I can help with, just feel free to ping me and we can either set up some time together or whatever that might look like. And yeah, you mentioned breadcrumbs. I find like breadcrumbs is good, but it's built really as like a compliance-based tool. It's not really built as like an investor-based tool. And I think therefore that the platform generally is sort of built one way compared to another. So yeah, we're trying to do better on the counterparty front, but yeah, I wish Solana was as easy to work with as EVM data. We could do that stuff in a few weeks, but Solana's not that easy.
All right, Charlie, I want to grab screen for a second and show you Frick and kind of like walk you through and walk everyone through how we can yeah, how you can kind of like profit really aggressively off of high volume and also high volatility coins. So
Great.
like for me, when I'm looking at this, and I also am like really a lot more confident because of what you've shown us with the wallet transactions. But to me, this is like a double top formation. And then also we're right around like the 25 mil market cap, which is where this is like you kind of see standardized take profit areas because the people who are like trading these memes are professional in the sense that they do it on a regular basis. Whether or not they're profitable, that's a different story. But you usually see like 10 million being kind of like a standard take profit area. Usually 1 million is also a standard area too, but this one just blasted through that. But so like we see it here went to 13 million, and then we see an accumulation stage, and then we see 25, 26 million, and probably another sell-off. And so when I look at this, I think there's two likely possibilities. I don't think this is going to rug. I think our smart money kind of like validates this as a legitimate coin. Plus, it's like connected to like a really legitimate Web2 designer. And so, like, I feel confident that we're not going to see this. And so, the only two possibilities that I see occurring here are this, and this is probably like our standard retrace down to like a minus 80%. Or we could also see, so this is like not a standard retrace. We saw, let's see what our sell-off was. Yeah, so just to like the 50%. And so this is like what I like to call, there's no like a proper term for it, but this is like a high conviction coin accumulating for a secondary move. And so it's possible that this could run to, in this like same wave, we could run to like 50 to 100 million if it has like enough momentum behind it. So given our two likely possibilities, what I want to do is I want to set up my liquidity to one, capture the most fees in those possible movements, and then also to protect against IL. And so what I'm going to do is I like to use the fib sequence because that helps me look at price. And so we either have this as like a possible range, or we have this as a possible range. And so in most cases, I'm going to get rid of this secondary box. In most cases, we're going to see some kind of support occur at this 50% mark. We see this was a previous top, and then we also have this as like a previous top, and we have this as kind of like a support area. So for a short-term position, what I can do is I can set up my capital in this range. And I have a position I created here already. And so I have going from 0.90 to 54. And so let's go back to our price. So here's the bottom. Oops. Here's the bottom end of my range right here. And so this would designate like a 50% sell-off. And so what I'm wanting to do right now is I'm wanting to capture the volatility that occurs when early buyers are taking profit. And then the counterpart to that is because this coin has so much attention, we can pretty safely make the assumption that there are potential buyers that are now waiting for a better entry. And so that's why like you see this move here. This is people taking profit and new buyers entering. And so usually what I see is this kind of pattern. And then almost always, and I'll say there's a caveat to this, I'll mention that in a moment, but almost always you get to a point where the sell pressure is once again outpaced by buying pressure. Because if we have essentially 200K in buy volume every 5 minutes, that means there's a lot of people that want to buy this coin. And if they can now buy it at a 50% discount as to what it was an hour ago, that's now a really attractive buy for them. And so almost always we see a bounce at the 50%, with the caveat being if it's like a farm. If this coin was a farm, then you'd have those same people buying here at 50%, but there would also be that continuous sell pressure that makes your chart look like something like that, which is what we want to avoid. So I've set up this position to capture this volatility. Usually what I like to do is I like to go a bit more aggressive on the bid ask, because what this does is it allows me to accumulate tokens at this lower price point. And then as we move further down in range, what I'll do is I'll pull my liquidity and then I'll add it back into the position, but with the frick being priced more highly, or with the large percentage of frick being priced more highly. And so in that case, not only can I generate fees, which right now I'm doing 200%, and this is not annual fee, this is the fee that's being created in 24 hours. And so not only am I able to generate fees during that entire range, but I can also close my position with a profit by selling the frick for more. And so what's really, really interesting is let's say I did a position where I was just doing a bid ask. We do this standard bid ask formation, and let's just say we get lucky and it moves all the way down to our bottom and we flip it. We only need price to retrace approximately 40% before we can sell this entire position at break even. So you could have something, and that's why I really like these bigger ranges where I can use like a wider range. But let's say that this coin does like a proper sell-off and we go down to minus 80%. That would be like below this previous support range. And so that's like, you could set up this position very, very comfortably, knowing that like almost certainly you're going to get some kind of bounce here, because like no one was willing to sell below this price already. And so we can probably assume that's a safe space. And so what I would like to do is something like this, where we start here and move all the way down. And we can do this with one position. It's really, really simple. You don't have to do anything fancy. And I'll actually open this position with a small amount of SOL just to kind of like, let me make sure my numbers are correct. Yeah, so 2, 3. And so like my kind of like bread and butter is finding newly released coins that are high volume, and then creating these one-sided positions, capitalizing on the regularly occurring phenomenon that people will take profit once they're now 10x up from their initial buy. So that's like super standard human behavior. And
yeah,
like I said, like even if
like
we,
a no-brainer.
yeah, it's so easy. Like I literally what I do, and like I'm kind of like letting the cat out of the bag, but the fact is like there's still so many people in the Web3 space that like don't even know that Meteor exists. And it's astonishing to me because we have people who are out there like launching pump fund coins and like streaming. And I saw one where this guy was trapping himself in a dog cage so that he could make money. And I'm like, bro, you can just DLMM meme coins. You
Exactly.
don't,
Man, the live stream stuff on Pump Fund lately has been ridiculous.
it's
Hey?
insane, dude. But so like let's say like the worst like case scenario happened and like we come all the way down here. All we need is that like 50% bump back up to like 10 million or so, and we can close this in profit. Like our capital is break even, and then we have 10 to 12 hours of fee generation. And so if we're able to keep this 200%, which this will probably go down because like usually as price moves down, the volume will also decrease. But like this most likely will generate approximately somewhere like on a conservative end, 50% daily in fee generation, all the way up to 100% daily in fee generation. And so if we're able to do break even on our capital and book a 50% profit in a 24-hour period with fees, that's such an incredible win. Like if you're meme trading, I know there's lots of people who want to do 10x's or 100x's, but the caveat to that is you're only going to win, like your average person is winning 1 out of 10 times, 2 out of 10 times. And so this is like such a better play for your average trader because it's just so much more consistent, and it's so much easier. You don't have to predict which coins are going to win. You can allow the market to tell you which coins are high volume and high attention, and then you can capitalize on that by providing liquidity.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting. I had a question for you. So at the start of this call, I mentioned that like what I'd heard about a lot of this is that it captured a lot of the legacy retail airdrop farmers, right? And I think the airdrop farmer space ended up becoming so saturated because everyone's win rate was so low, or what they received just didn't really meet their expectations. So, like if you put airdrop farming aside, like how well do you compare this strategy, given that it is your bread and butter, to some of the other strategies that we're seeing out there at the moment?
Like, what other strategies would you be referring to? Just like meme trading, or because literally, like
Yeah, or
I'm so unexposed to the rest of Web3 that I'm not sure I can answer that without you better defining what other strategies exist.
oh, fair enough. That's all right. Well, how about then, like comparing it to the airdrop farmer space then, if that is something
Mm.
that's a little bit more in your sort of territory?
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head that airdrop farming became oversaturated. And then you also had like nefarious actors like some of the coins that farmed their farmers in a very real way. And so like this, like, so I have like 20K capital assets under management. And I pretty consistently generate like $1,000 of profit every day. Um,
Nice.
yeah, and that's incredible. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely above average in terms of my skill level. I've been doing this full time for like 6 months now. But the crazy thing is that in terms of the skill increase that I've had over time, the main thing that I've gotten better at is avoiding rugs and avoiding big losses. And because those are things that can be determined via on-chain research, you can teach someone how to do that. You don't need to become a PhD in memeology. You can just teach people the basic risk patterns that occur in rugs. And then because like literally, like I shit you not, 90% of my LPs are draw a fib retracement, find a high volume coin, and then do a bid ask going below the 786. And like I'll show you a position that I have right now. Um, this is a coin that so I like LPing coins that I actually want to buy. And so if you've been in the AI space, Bully is like one of the market leaders. And so this is my position. Like I have a bit of a spot floor because I want to increase my capital in this top end range a bit. And then, so this represents like a 70% decrease in price. And so if we look at the chart for Bully, like if I could buy Bully at a 70% discount, I'd be ecstatic about that. And so it's a win-win for me. And like the big thing is it gives me like the conviction and the emotional security to not like I don't even think about this. It's just something that exists for me. And so like obviously there's going to be somewhat of a retrace. Maybe we see Bully come down to like a 50% and then move up, or maybe it moves all the way down here. But like either way, I'm achieving two things. So one is like I have recurring revenue coming in from this, and two is I get to acquire Bully at a lower price point. And so for me, it's like a win-win. Um, Most of my like larger positions are for coins like this that like I think the market has kind of like decided that Bully is going to be a main player in the AI space for this market segment. Obviously, it could we could be wrong, and I could take an L on this, but like in most like normal scenarios, this probably goes like this and then goes to its all-time high whenever the market really peaks. Um, and so I could, I can, and will most likely keep this position open for like 1 to 3 weeks, up until whenever we top out. And so what I'm doing is I just pocket the SOL fees, and I just keep the bully, and the bully that I'm earning from my LP is becoming my moon bag, so to speak.
Nice. Did you want to take a look at what the Nansen data looks like for bully? Because I've
Yeah,
spotted
please,
some
please
stuff.
go ahead and
Yeah,
grab screen share again.
great. I'll have to jump off after that, but can you see that on your side?
Yes.
Great. So I'll
So that
just
says
zoom.
smart money is accumulating, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
Nice.
the chart's looking quite bullish because what you really want to see is like the number of smart money, like the total balance is increasing, but also the number of unique holders is increasing. Because if you saw like the number of holders decreasing, then it means that there's like more centralization within those smart money wallets, right? So that's looking pretty positive for one, as like that initial sense check. But then, like, if we look at some of these holders, we've got like Frank D. Gods, who everyone knows. I don't know who this him Gajeria guy is,
You don't know
but
him? Dude, he is like one of the main
no,
KOLs. Oh my God. I'm gonna share his profile in chat. You have to
yeah,
follow
please
this guy.
do. But then
He's
we've
like
also got like so
he's
with
like one
Tardio.
of the thought leaders right now for AI, the AI meta.
Oh, I don't know how I've missed him.
Yeah.
Blind spot. So yeah, the fact that he's like a mill in this token. Also with Tardio.sol, he's one of the top P&L guys at the moment. We've got Devmons, so they're like a syndicate fund that are basically a bunch of the guys that set up Sigil Fund, the fund that I showed you earlier. They have gone off and sort of have this sort of angel investing syndicate community called DevMons. So they've been like super active on the Solana meme coin space as well lately. So to see some really interesting addresses holding Bully, like to me, it suggests that like this is probably a bit of a longer term play for them as well for the remainder of the cycle. So yeah, I would agree with your conviction there, but let's just go like second page. Like Master Ventures. There we go. There's that fund again that we spotted on. I think it was what Justice it was, I believe. We also bridged the gap between like OpenSea. So if you wanted to see someone's like OpenSea and you can see this person like deployed a certain token. So yeah, interesting stuff there, but bullish signs for you, mate, in other words, which is good.
I have a
But
question for you, Charlie.
yeah, go for it. Then I'll have
What
to jump off after that.
how would you use Nansen to try and predict a market top? And how can we use, yeah, like what signs would you be able to pull from your data that would predict that like the big players are starting to sell their BTC or Sol or their main alts?
Yeah, like market top is an interesting one. There's a few like indicators that I like to use that we've actually just removed in the app that we plan
Oh,
on
bummer.
bringing back. One that like there's two that I find quite interesting, and the first is around the number of like the smart money balances of like stable coins. I think that's a really interesting indicator
Mm,
because if smart money are like holding stables, they're like far less risk on, and that could suggest that like the market cycle is really turning. Also, the amount of like assets that are on exchanges, I find quite interesting as an indicator too. But yeah, we've actually got some indicators built out specifically by our research team and our alpha community that really try to solve that exact problem. But I would say it's much harder to get like macro insights like that from Nansen. It generally tends to be much more like flow based of individual wallets and entities.
mm.
But yeah, what about you? How do you? What's your sort of sentiment check there?
So a couple of weeks ago, I spent a little bit of time doing some research into how to better predict a market top because I don't want to ride the bus. Um,
Yeah.
and so some of the things that I found that were relevant were I'll pull it up on screen because I don't remember the exact indicators, but I was using just some like pretty standard indicators. Literally, all I did is I went on Twitter and I searched for how people in the past have designated market tops. Um, and so some of the things that I found that were really relevant, the pi cycle, and I don't know what this is. It's just what other people on Twitter said was a good indicator
Yeah,
for tops. But you can see it's been accurate at predicting past tops, which is good. And so the big thing here is like I don't want to try and be perfect, but most importantly, I want to find objective indicators that help me make the decision to sell. Because
yeah,
when we're in, because these are peak euphoria, and like we're all human beings and we're all influenced by emotion. So we're going to be euphoric. We're going to be like, oh my God, my position's up 50% or 100%. And so what I really want is objective, like disconnected indicators that will help me make that decision to sell. And so even if I TP 50% here and then I sell off the rest at like a discount, that's fine with me because I've closed in profit. And so this
yeah,
one supposedly is good. The 2-year MA multiplier is supposedly good. And then there's also the Bitcoin rainbow chart. Again, I have no clue how this is created, but it seems like they're somewhat accurate in determining when we're in that kind of like euphoric stage. And so for me, and I haven't been doing a good job of doing this recently, but I think we probably have. I want to hear your opinion on this too, but I think we probably have 3 to 6 months before we go like max out top. But so the BTC rainbow thing also usually works pretty well. And so like when we're in this orange area and we're not there yet, like people on CT are being like, oh, the top is in BTC 100K. We'll see you in 2028. I'm like, bro, chill. I don't think you're right. Maybe they are, but like
yeah,
if you look at like the macro market, like we have like Trump coming into office who said he's going to do a BTC strategic reserve. Japan just announced that they're doing a BTC strategic reserve. We have like El Salvador, who is kind of like the thug of like the international world, who like they're up
yeah,
100% on their trades. I don't know if people know this. Bhutan's like this small like
yeah.
nation.
The kingdom.
They're crushing it, dude. They have like geothermal and hydro plants just like pumping out BTC every day, and they're gonna do incredibly well in like the next 10 to 50 years as a nation state. Um,
They're pulling the middle finger to the German government who sold everything a while
yeah,
ago.
dude. Oh my God, what
Yeah,
bitches, dude. Like
yeah,
I feel like so I think Germany has done some like wonderful things like post 1950. Let me make that caveat.
yeah.
But like they're such a wonderful nation in terms of like how productive they are and like they're an economic like powerhouse, but like it's such a perfect example of like the boomer mentality of I don't understand it, I don't want to be a part of it, and I'm now gonna forfeit some like serious financial gain because I fudded
Exactly.
the
Yeah,
essentially like the biggest mover, like other than like AI, and now AI is kind of synergized with crypto. Like there's no other mover in the entire world economy, I think, that's like gaining more relevance than crypto right now in the macro space.
100%. And Germany is the lowest tech adoption of all countries in the OECD.
Really?
So
Bro, why?
for them to try to adopt like my half my family side are German, and
Mm,
took me months to be able to even look at setting up online banking, and that's like really
really?
just for that, like it's a nightmare. Great manufacturing, but yeah, beyond that,
Yeah.
I mean, as a nation to adopt Bitcoin, I think they'll probably be yeah, not one of the first, let's just say. But I agree with you. I think we've probably got about yeah, 4 to 6 months left of this cycle. But yeah, I think like there's still a long way to go in a lot of areas. So it'll just be interesting to see whether some of that like capital flows back into some of these like legacy alts or not. But I was quite big on the sort of like DeFi renaissance thesis that was put
Mm.
out by a few APAC based funds as well. And we saw like a pretty big resurgence in like Aave and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how much further that has to go. But Yeah, I think it's been a fun cycle. It's been a hard cycle, not as easy as the last, or the last three that I've been a part of, but it always keeps you on your toes. But look, I will have to go, but I want to
Oh
say
yeah.
thank you to you, and thank you to your community also for having me on. I really enjoyed chatting with you. And again, you can use the promo code that you shared in the chat for 10% off any paid plan. But otherwise, it sounds like I got to start playing around with these LPs a bit more, and I might be picking your brain on Telegram. So thanks again for sharing that with me too. It was great to catch up.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Charlie. Great to have you. Did some wonderful stuff with sharing how Nansen works, and hopefully we get you guys some more attention. And otherwise, like it was great to just have you walk us through how to use the tech.
Awesome. Thank you. You take care. All the best.
Guys, with Charlie leaving, I'm just gonna kind of like do some Q&A. Does anyone have any questions? We'll probably hang out for another 15 minutes or so. Just answer questions that people have. Maybe there's no question. I'm just gonna kind of like show you guys what I'm doing with this LP on Frick because lo and behold, people are now buying at a discount. I don't want to like be too cocky because that's like how you make big mistakes. But um, this is like exactly what I thought would happen. I think probably we see this. This is what I usually see is like a little fake out here, another sell off down to close to 50%. And then we get what I like to call this is our first move. This is our second kind of like half move. It's not usually not a new all-time high. And then we go and see our proper retracement there. But one thing that I would have liked to have done a little bit better here is I would have liked to do more in bid ask and less in spot. This might actually be a more profitable formation, but if you do more in bid ask, you're being a bit more conservative. And for me, at least, like I want to like protect my capital rather than try to maximize profits. And so, uh, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, so I was just saying that right here we're seeing this little first move, this first attempt to move price back up. This one usually fails. So if you're like trying to like scalp trade, like don't buy this first movement. Usually we'll see another move down, a bounce here, and then what you really want to see is this higher low. If we get a higher low here, we usually see a move up a little bit, and then price could either range trade for a little while, which would be like wonderful for us. If we get like this kind of movement for like 6 to 12 hours, that's incredible. But a lot of times after you see this second move up, you see price come back down here and then break further down. So for this short-term position for like the 0, the -10 to -50%, usually I want to hold this for like 1 to 3 hours and then close after I get like a strong move up. If we're up here and the volume is still really high, like honestly, I want volume to be like higher than it is right now, like 3 to 500K. But if volume is really high, then I might hold here for longer. But usually like this secondary movement up is followed by like a proper retracement. But our position is doing well. I put 8 soul in this originally. Right now it's worth yeah, so I think we're down a smidge right now because we need a bit more in fee generation to offset this. Yeah, so we got to get a little bit of a bounce here to be able to close this one in profit, but It's okay either way. Sometimes I still think we're fine. I wish our volume was a little bit higher because then we'd be getting more in fee generation. And then also I think because we're in the 5% pool right now, it's we're getting fewer trades than if we were in the 2% pool. Do you guys have any other questions before I close the stream for today? I'm looking at the webinar chat. Um, I'll add my Discord handle in chat. So I was kind of joking about like doing like a DLMM Academy. We already have the boot camp, which is like a great place to start. And so the way like this is like kind of supposed to work is that the LP Jam is supposed to be teaching some like more advanced techniques. So my best advice for you would be to start off with a boot camp. And actually, I think we have one. No, we had one this past weekend, I think, but they're once a month. Uh, and then come to the LP gems more regularly and just ask questions. So the best thing is to like practice. There's also, yeah. Yeah, so clockwork, like the biggest thing would be to just ask more questions. I can't know exactly where other people are in terms of their skill development. So if you ask questions during the jams, that helps me kind of like provide more relevant advice. I also try and go live in Discord a couple times during the week and just do the same thing where I just like live stream and talk to people about LPing. I haven't been announcing them on Twitter. I'll start doing that. I'll make a post on my Twitter when I'm about to go live in Discord, but they do an announcement in the Discord channel itself. I've been wanting to become like more disciplined about having like a schedule for when I go live. And if I decide to commit to doing that, then I'll post the schedule on my Twitter. Um, but I haven't done that yet. I don't know if I want to commit to live streaming every day. So that's a freaking lot of work. Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad. Like honestly, like I feel so blessed to be in this position. I feel blessed to be like in the crypto space right now, and I'm really grateful that my job is to teach other people how to become financially independent. So what a wonderful position I'm in. I'm glad y'all are getting benefit from this too. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and close the jam for today. You guys have my Discord, you have my Twitter as well. You're welcome to like send me a ping there if you have any questions. And otherwise, namaste, y'all. Hope you guys have a great week. Hope you lock in some solid gains, and we'll see everyone next week.